going on, Facebook fam? It's your girl, Neo Soul recording artist Lahla-Hadiya, back on Thursday, a Thursday for another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. How are you? Come on, y'all know the drill. Put those thumbs up, those hearts, those happy faces. Let me know how you feeling this morning. It is 7:30, bright and early. It's nice outside. The sun is not out, but it's still a beautiful day. So I hope you guys are doing well. We're gonna go ahead and dig into this topic. This topic is it wasn't as interesting to me as it became yesterday evening, and I'll tell you why later. Um, but the topic today is what have you done lately? Um, what have you done lately that's worth remembering? So I want to know. I'm gonna go ahead and what's going on, Vanita? What's going on, big bro? My big brother's on here. I'm gonna go ahead and bring mom on here so we can get started with this topic. Hey, you. Hello. We here. We here.
How's everybody? I'm great. I'm great. Looking out the window, leaves and trees are blowing. It's cloudy, but you know what? It's a beautiful day in my neighborhood, and I am so grateful. I am so grateful. How are
So
you?
I'm good. Well, I'm lying. I'm a little down.
Good,
I'm a little
good, good,
down.
good.
But I'll get over it. What's going on, Missy? I'll get over it.
Hi, Missy.
And hopefully, the responses to this topic can give me some insight. But I'm a little down. Situation happened yesterday or the day before yesterday. I am not illiterate, but I am not the person to ask when it comes to Apple products.
You're down, but you're not out.
I'm not the person that you come to when it comes to Apple products, when it comes to computer stuff. My husband is in IT, that's what he does or whatever. And then I have several friends that actually work at IT as well. But so I was I there was an investment made, so that I can do a couple of things for the show or whatever. And so the Apple computer that I have is ancient. Like I'm one to make sure that my husband has what he needs to thrive. My children have what they need to thrive. But I'm the one dealing with the dinosaurs of computers and everything and things that I need. Because I just normally just make do, right? I normally make do. Um, but this time I was trying to like do some things utilizing the computers that I had, the screens that I had, and something went wrong. Called my husband in here. He's like, "Oh my God, look, you got like 7,000 pictures." And I take a lot of pictures, creating memories, because I want to remember things. And I'm not. The funny thing is, my children pointed it out to me. 90% of the time I'm not even in the photo. It's either my husband with the kids or my mom or my brother. But anyway, he went to like my one thing about my husband is when he starts doing stuff like he's just like, yo, you don't need this, you don't need this, delete, and I'm just like, whoa, what are you doing? And before I knew it, my photos were deleted and all 7,000 photos worth of memories is gone. Photos, videos of the kids when they were babies, things that I can't get back physically, tangibly. So I'm a little down about it. But then I remembered, I had to get ready and prepared for the topic. So I'm looking at the topic, and the topic says, "What have you done lately that's worth remembering?" and and
Wow.
so immediately, the focus went back to like, yo, like I could have showed you, but it's all gone. And but I remember saying to my oldest daughter last night, because she started to get down with me. She's like, "Mommy, like you're the one, like you take, like Daddy takes pictures, but a lot of stuff in his phone is his picture. So like if he loses it, he still got his face. He can just keep taking pictures of himself. But like you take pictures of everybody, like everything." And I was like, "Yeah, it's all good. Like I'm just, I always tell you guys, God is sometimes waiting to see your response, before He moves." And so I'm like, it's cool. But on the inside, I'm like, Lord. And I said to her, it's all right. It may not be in my phone, but I remember it. Like the stuff that I was taking pictures and video of was just that significant that I could never forget it. Like I remember, like I have the Rolodex of pictures in my head. Um, and so this morning when I was thinking about the topic, I'm like, wow, like I wonder if we ever think about the things that we do. Um, are they worth being remembered? Like, are we creating a legacy for ourselves? Like when we take our last breath, when we pass the dash, and a number is actually placed on the other side of the dash, have we put in enough to create lasting memories for other people? Have we created a legacy for other people that our children and our loved ones can be proud of and remember? So God is dealing with me. I don't know whether He gonna allow the pictures to come back or not. I've talked to a couple of my IT buddies who have some thoughts and ideas on how I can get it back. And it may or may not work. So it's like I still don't know which way the cookie gonna crumble. But I believe that I gotta keep, the same attitude that God expects me to have. You know what I'm saying? It's because He's allowed me to create the memory in here and in here. So my response is everything. But yeah, so I'ma still smile. I am a little down. I'ma still smile though because I have life. Let's see. Somebody said, what have I done lately that's worth remembering? I've been journaling like a madman and uncovering some ugly truths, but it's been necessary for me to continue growing. That's deep. That's the Alvanita. Thanks. I'll be good. I promise you I won't cry on air.
That's really interesting. I'm a movie watcher now, not a binge watcher, but uh, something I haven't done in the past, I'm doing more so now, and that is watching movies, mostly documentaries, but then movies. Um, and so it has happened more recently when we have a topic, and before I even address or look at zoom in on the topic, there's something that in my life that I do or I see that later I realize is related to that topic. Case in point, last night, one of the movies I watched, don't start me, I can't, I watched so many, the name of it escapes me, but it
I
had to
think you
do with
told me
this young,
about it.
yeah, it had to do with this young lady who, oh, it was called Pet,
Yeah.
Pet. Yeah.
Knew it was something like that.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't
Oh my
remember.
gosh. Yeah. I was on a horror binge last night. So in essence, the woman, young woman was kept in a cage, by this guy who had been stalking her. Um, Interesting enough, she journaled and she wrote everything, down in her journal. And, spoiler, so eventually this guy captured her and put her in a animal cage. Backstory is that he worked at this pet place. Okay, but the thing was, there was an altercation at some point with a former boyfriend of hers, and this guy, her former boyfriend came to her rescue because this guy was really acting out of sorts. And during the scuffle, she dropped her journal. Okay, you get where this is going already.
Yeah.
And this guy who was stalking her had access to all of her personal inner thoughts. Can you imagine? And, with that, I started to think. And then after I, zoomed in on our topic, I'm like, wow, things were, because I journal, I'll jot things down, post-its, wherever. I have all kinds of memos. And, and I've often thought about that. What if, you lost your book or whatever you keeping your thoughts in? This
I
is
remember
you,
that.
you know? And so it made me think, those things that are worth remembering. To me, this side of my life, mostly family, and interesting enough, La mentioned pictures because I'm a chronic picture taker also. And it's chances are a lot of the pictures that she had, many of the pictures she thinks she lost. I probably have some, not the ones she had, but I do have a lot of pictures of my grandkids. I'm just snap, 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 paparazzi me. So my thoughts about that, there's so much that lately that is worth for me remembering. And as you get older, your computer gets a little overload. And so many things, and that's the way I see it, just the way I see it. You have so much information over time that it's like a computer, it's overload. And some things you remember, other things you do not. Some things will come back, things when I'm not thinking about it. And that brings me to the point with La, with her situation. Sometimes you have to walk away from a situation and come back to it. And sometimes you walk away from a situation and it comes back to you. And I'm going to drop that right there, leave it, shake it up. Hey,
And it's
what's done, and in essence, what's done is done. But I'm a firm believer as non-computer literate for a teacher. That sounds crazy. I'm not the guru when it comes to technology. However, I have learned to discover, to do different things. And like La said, there are always people to do things that you can't do. That's why we live in an interrelated society. A lot said, but in essence, um, don't cry over spilt milk. Um, and just be chill. Just be chill and know that if it's for you to get those pictures back, you're gonna get them back. I believe that you will anyway. I do.
and
Um,
and Naya, I feel you on that one, printing them out, and so I think for me, when I'm taking, so my husband and I are totally different. Like everything goes on Facebook to the point where sometimes we're like, "Yo, babe, take that off. That was just for us." Um, but there are things that I guess the average person would probably ask me, "What would you take pictures for if you're not going to show it to everybody?" Because I literally have. There were pictures that I had that were so intimate with my babies that was just me and them and nobody, not even my husband, like not even their dad saw. It was just pictures that I wanted to capture that moment, so I would grab my phone and take it. And so these are pictures nobody has ever seen. Um, and so I want to get off that, but I'm realizing even as I'm reading just the things that you guys are putting here now, and just in talking about the topic and listen to my mom, like um I'm always like, they joke a lot of times. My husband will joke when we're sitting at the dinner table, and I'll just stop randomly, and I'll just stare, like I'll just look at them, and he's like, "Oh gosh, your mom taking pictures again," you know. And I'm literally just capturing memory. And so I began to, well, not to my knowing, until they told me, but I had began to instill that into my children. Like there are times when they'll just capture the moment. We'll be outside and they'll just stop, and just freezing, just looking around. And I find my 8-year old autistic daughter, she does that a lot. Like she will just freeze and she'll be just fixated on one thing, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" It's like, are you creating memories? You taking pictures? And I think about the way I live my life, um, and it's important to me to do things that are worth remembering. Like it's not so much important. to me for people to talk about me. You know what I mean? For me to be this big time person that, my funeral is so crowded people can't even get in, that's not the importance that I want to have in regards to creating memories or creating memorable moments. But it's it's the substance of what I give people. Like when their paths intersect with mine, when we're in a conversation, when I meet somebody in a grocery store, like it's not necessary that they have to remember Lahla-Hadiya. Rather, I want for anybody I come in contact with to be somewhere and be like, I remember this lady. We were in the grocery store and she was like such and such and such and such. Like you don't even have to remember my name, like me as a person, rather the substance of our interaction. And that's what's important to me. And so as we're talking, it's like, do we actively work to create memorable moments for people that we come in contact with every day? Like, not for namesake, but just for the substance that we emit when we're interacting with people. Um, is it worth remembering?
Of
And not
course.
just is it worth remembering, because some people have done some things negatively that we just will not forget, Um, but I want for when people remember it, for it to be instrumental in either guiding them further down their path of purpose. Um, or hey, if I have to be the example of what not to do, cool. But I want it to be instrumental in their growth and not their demise, if that makes sense. Does that
You
make
know,
sense?
coming from my word, and because we are made in God's image, even God remembered from the very outset with Noah, with all the animals that had entered the ark, and then with the downpour of the rain that came about. And my Bible says that at some point God remembered Noah and every living thing. And I used to think about that. I really used to wonder, does he actually remember all of these? Even now, as I'm looking around my property at the different living things, and not going into depth, but my son and I on Monday, no, Tuesday, yeah, Monday, happened to both observe the same little animal. It was like he was looking through one camera of the security camera, and I was looking through the other. And we both at some point said, wow, look at that. There was this little thing that was crawling. And of course, the first thing I'm like, oh no, it's not a creeper, it's not a snake, but it was a baby squirrel. We came to the conclusion it was a baby squirrel, and my guess was this baby squirrel had just been born, because it was not walking like the usual squirrels. It was like low to the ground. And my thoughts went back to just what I said. Does God actually remember all these things that He's created? Of course He does. And in Genesis 8:1, it tells you that in regards to Noah and the ark and all of these animals that God created, and with the rain, the downpour, and with the earth being destroyed as Noah once knew it, but now came the point where the earth would be replenished, with these animals that God instructed Noah to save. God remembered. He remembered. And because I'm made in his image, because we are made in his image, we too remember things. Some things are well, not some things, but I would guess that, as with everything else in our lives, we're not here just for us. We're not here for it. Ain't even about us. It's about what we can reach out and do for others. So, excuse me. So, for those things that we, want to remember, or we're trying to remember, you know, as I said, if it's for us to remember, we will, my belief, we will remember those things. Um, for myself, I'm in the business of making memories for my grandchildren, for their children, and so on and so forth. So for me, the thought of remembering those things that I've done lately that are worth remembering, when I'm with my grandkids and we do different things, whether it's sharing stories with them. And I've gotten in the habit, even with the baby now, and it's so funny. And I get a kick out of it, seeing her chuckle and laugh when I'm telling her different stories about my childhood, because I'm trying to implant those memories that I have. I'm trying to pass them on as I
Yes.
deal with my children. And there La's doing with her children. And ideally, my grandkids will do it, and so on and so on and so on. So, as far as things that I've done lately that are worth remembering, particularly during these hard times, yes, I'm really sharing, and I get kind of caught up sometimes because I've got so much in my head that I'm trying to get out, and the thought is I've got so little time, or let's put it this way, a less morbid thought. I have less time than I once had. Okay. So to share these things. So when I'm with my grandkids, when I'm with my children, I am constantly pouring out. The things that are worth remembering are family heritage, family backgrounds, things. People marry every day and they don't know one thing about their mate as far as the health history. They could have a history of being a serial killer. Just that's extreme. But, people don't know anything because they don't share. Okay. In summary, for me, remembering is to implant those things that are worth that I want my legacy. I want in my legacy. I want my grandkids and their kids and their kids to remember this stuff. Okay, well, not everything, but at least it puts it in their heads, so I don't have to worry about uh, whether they're gonna know these things. And I'm dropping the mic,
I,
and
so somebody said, we're all different. We have different minds, feelings, flesh, whatever. Um, but as humans, we are to uplift other people, even if they don't want to be bothered. And if we can't teach them like he's teaching us, then within our we have to find within ourselves so we can do God's will and His purpose to help the world grow. And
keep on.
what I take from that is so important because as my mom would say, this side of my life, it is very important to me to make sure that every single thing I do has purpose. And that purpose is directly lined up and connected to God's ultimate purpose for my life. Because that is directly tied to someone else and their growth and their purpose. We talked about that the other day. And so, even what I say, I'm always like at the end of the night, when I'm in the bathroom and I'm washing my face and just having my own time, when I can slip away from the littles. Um, I'm always reflecting back on things that I've said throughout the day. Did they make sense? Were they necessary? Was it a part of the problem or solution? Like, will it help whomever I said it to grow? Is it necessary? Was it necessary so that they can have something to take on the next level of their journey? Like, I'm always thinking of that, and like sometimes my husband be like, "Yo, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Nothing, just thinking." What you think about, man? If I began to tell you, we'd be here like 100,000 nights, because there's always so many things spinning through my head because I'm constantly replaying as quickly as I've done something. I'm replaying that moment, even while I'm in a new moment. I'm replaying that moment because it matters to me now. Like it used to didn't matter. Like I was at a stage where in life where I didn't really care what people thought. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I never really understood what that meant. You know, it made you feel bold to be like, I don't care what they think. I'm gonna do me. And it made you feel profound and bold and independent and like this big bad wolf. And it really was the dumbest thing ever. Like when you really think about it, I absolutely care what people think because everything I do has a purpose, and that purpose should be directly tied to God's purpose for me. And if it is, then I understand that what I do directly affects somebody else's purpose. So I absolutely do care how you receive that. I absolutely do care what you thought about that action or act that I did. Like it's the like that's the most immature statement that a person can give, or ignorant rather, because you don't really have the knowledge of what that really means. Like I absolutely do care what people think, and not so much for fad or fashion, you know, or fame. Rather, making sure that what I'm doing is lined up with God's will for me, so that people get what they're supposed to get. So nobody misses the mark. Like if I'm on point, that gives you an opportunity to be on point. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, it does matter. And for me to answer that question, what have I done lately? I believe that, you know, now more so than ever, I'm etching out individual time with my children. Like my husband and I used to, on a consistent basis, date our children. We would, you know, throughout life, instill morals and things like that with them. And then we give them an opportunity to express that or show what they've learned by taking them out on a date, exactly what it is. You know, I would allow my boys to take me out, so they could just show me what they learned, so they can put it into practice how to treat a woman. You know, they'd have their little wallet, the money would be in their wallet. You know, they pull the chair out for me, they open the door, all of those things. You know, putting it into action. And now, more recently, I found myself diving a little deeper, and I'll just take one and go out for a drive, and I would listen. What's on your mind? However it come out, and I would listen. And on the drive back, I would start inputting information, inputting knowledge, inputting wisdom, and I believe that it's worth remembering because I see it happen. Like they'll say something in a Bible study discussion or while we're in the midst of a situation, and I may be off track. Like I may be off track, and then you know, mommy in a respectful way pull my curtail and be like, "Well, mommy, remember when you said such and such and such?" And it was exactly what I needed to put me back on the track that I was supposed to be on. And so I believe that these talks that I have with my children, these open discussions where they get to be themselves and get to share what's really in their spirit, no holds barred, and no fear of repercussion, that I get to correct, water, and actually take away the weeds. You know, I get to
You know, you
maintain it.
touched the memory bank. Um, wow, speaking of which, memory. Um, one of my many fondest memories of educating, of teaching, was this one particular incident. I believe it was middle school. And you know, when my kids, my homeroom kids come in, when kids come in you talk about a memory, a pleasant memory for me. It's overbearing, it's overcrowding sometimes, but it's memorable in the sense that when these children come in my classroom, everybody, has, particularly on a Monday, the first day they come back after the weekend, everybody has something to say. Everybody's got their weekend experiences and so forth and so on. And I remember I'm sitting there at my desk, taking roll as they were coming in, and I've got 1,001 exaggeration. Kids around my desk, Miss C, Miss C, so and so and so, Miss C, Miss da 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 da, and they're just everybody, and I'm turning from one side to the other, and so um, after a while, when things were kind of calming down, excuse me, I repeated something that one of my little boys had said to me, and he looked at me like in awe. He was like, "You were actually listening." And I was like, "Of course I was, because what you guys were saying, you know, was interesting, And as I responded to whatever he was sharing with me, he was more shocked. He was like, "Wow, how did you remember that?" And everybody's talking around me. I said, because my was just like a radar, like an antenna, you know. And that for me as an educator, as a parent, you know, I only had two children. I didn't have six children. But
Yeah, you do.
I'm saying, because I'm so proud of it. Um, but yeah, you pick up, you know, the experience of listening. You hear, but do you listen? And when you
Uh,
listen, do you remember what is being said to you? And for me, that is very important. Remembering uh, is very important to me. Those things, those nuggets, those things that will you want to carry on and implant them with someone else. As people, and this is one thing I do, even at 70, I am constantly listening. I'm a chronic note taker. This is an example. I just
and
found this in
she,
my
oh my
one of my
gosh, you do not want to be at the table with her while
no, you
she's
don't. No, you
writing.
don't. It's like an earthquake because I'm constantly, the table is shaking or whatever. But I listen. I want to remember things that later on will be may be important to me, to expound on to someone else. And with my I have several incidents with my grown and gone and grown and on their own children. My two bookends, I call them. Interesting enough, I'm often saying things like, "Did I ever tell you about the time when, we were driving along, my family? I told you we took a lot of trips, and on this one particular trip, a fly got into the vehicle, and my brother had the brainstorm of killing it and then throwing it out the
Oh
window."
gosh.
And when he opened the window, he had the lunch that was packed. Mom had so diligently packed in a little shoebox, and he's holding the box and fanning, trying to get the fly out, and out the window went all of our lunch: cheese, crackers, sandwiches, chicken legs, you name it. And
It was
you
worth
talk about
remembering because she naming everything that was
and
she
I'm
naming
like,
everything in that bag.
and so it's things like that that I want to remember enough to pass it on so that my grown and gone and on their own kids can tell their children, and relate it. This is history. This is history, to be able to share information with your children, with those, who will come after you. And even in the real world, we were talking yesterday as we sadly were mentioning the situation with the police brutality. And I was saying to Latif, I was like, you know, this brings back memories, because I was a part of that civil rights struggle, back in the 60s, and marching and all of that. I said, and you know, we took a different approach from the now millennials when it comes to voicing our discontent with what is happening. Part of it was the Martin Luther King syndrome, I call it, where nonviolence, but yet making a point, not giving up. The dogs, the water hoses, and those water hoses are strong. The fire hoses. So when I hear stuff that is happening now, and these police officers who are seemingly, having time to go home, pack a bag, and they could go to Jublip, by the time charges are brought, if brought upon them. So, it's things like that I'm relating to my children and those who come after me. I'm relating things like that, a part of history. Those are things that I want to remember, so that not so much for me, obviously, because I'll be long gone, but my children and their children and their children and so on and so forth will remember, because history is a very important part of us. And again, I'll let that marinate, and let's move on.
And but you know what you said is so key when you said the things that you experienced back then, and in relation to what we experience now and how you guys dealt with those things and what actually happened. You instill, and you're constantly talking to us about it, constantly talking to the grandkids about it, and I encourage that. I encourage my kids, like, yo, any moment you get, sit up under your grandmother. There are just things I can't even tell you the way she would. You know what I'm saying? And it's so important because I think about, when I told you guys I was supposed to be a lawyer, but I didn't want to stay in school that long. But so I went to school for elementary ed. But when we used to do mock trials, I remember, when you would when you were going through, when we were going through our statements and things like that, and just bringing back to remembrance certain things to be able to get the person off or convicted. Um, we would bring up old cases, you know, because the the defense attorney would be arguing a point against something, right, in order to get their client off, and vice versa. And there would be a case that was already tried where this was the outcome because of what was found in that particular case that may be similar to what that the case that we were in was going through, and I would be able to bring back other cases and reference them, and it would give me the opportunity to win the trial because of the outcome of those cases. And as I think about that and the things that we're going through today, because I pondered about allowing my children to see the video, um, and I thought about different factors. Like, one, they all have phones, um, and it's not blocked to the point where they can't pull it up on something and watch it. Um, and so the question arose: do you want to be there to be able to explain it, so that it's just not floating around, just knowledge floating around, that could create something negative versus something positive. So I began to talk to them about it, and then we had called my mom on FaceTime, and so, we were talking about it, and she was talking about memories that she had growing up in a segregated area where, certain things were happening that were brutal, that the police were doing to our kind. And it was so similar. And, the marches that they had, like the reaction that they had, and the effectiveness for that time. No, racism is not completely dead and stinking. However, there were actions that were taken that created space for growth, for our community as blacks and for the community as whites. We gained a lot of people from the white race who began to understand what the heck it really looked like when when we say white privilege, or and we don't have everybody. Like, there are people that were born into negativity and hatred, but some of the actions that they did created pathways, and I look at how we respond today, and I wonder if a lot of groups actually reference some of the actions and reactions of our forefathers that were worth remembering, you know, that were worth remembering because they got them to the next level of where they needed to be to keep fighting this fight. You know, I wonder if before we do the marches, before we get out there and just say, oh, we all gonna gather out on the block, do we actually really stop and think and remember those things that were worth remembering, so that when we go out there on the block, it's for a purpose. It's a reason. We're not just gathering and then it ends up being this big shebang and we throwing bottles and breaking windows, and like, is it effective? Is that effective? Or are we falling into the hands of the enemy? Are we giving the enemy the weapon to destroy us? Like, it's important, like, so when I began to speak with my children about it, and then my mom, came on and started talking, I stopped and started listening, because I'm like, yo, like, it is necessary for us to remember, because there are certain lessons that were learned, based on the actions and lack thereof sometimes
And
of
that's
our
a point
forefathers.
that is pertinent to the fact that um, it's like almost like a snowball effect. Learning is should be carried on. There's some things now, even with the homeschooling that parents are doing now, and you're looking at the math and you're saying, like, why are they going through all these steps when all they have to do is do thus and so? Reading, writing, arithmetic, that's what we were in my day. And then now it's like you go here to go there, you go there to go here. And it's all kinds of steps that are put in there, when you can actually, we're saying, or the parents are saying, why are they going through that? This is the reason for that. It's not so much of that being an ideal way. We are, as we being educators, and parents are the first educators for children. So here it is. We are doing these things to get children to think, to think. And as we're incorporating these different steps and different techniques for doing the same old, the idea is to get children to think. That was top of my list in any lesson that I've ever taught, was to throw that nugget out there. And the first step in learning was to see where my kids, what they were going to do with it, And it's just like giving a rake, a yard rake, a tool to a child, just giving it to them and not telling them what to do with it, and just seeing what they're going to do with it first. Then you intervene and you say, well, this is the way I want you to rake the leaves in this motion, and so again, how does this tie in with remembering? Children remember. They remember a lot more what we do versus what we say. We can talk until we're blue in the face, but it's like, you tell a child this, but then they see you do that. And I think we mentioned something in that regards a few days ago, in regards to behaviors. Parents say, don't do this, don't tell lies, but then they hear your parent, telling a bill collector or someone at the door. We don't have too much of that these days, but telling someone you're not home, and but are here, or in my case, I remember, once when my mom was like, tell them I'm not here. And I said, Mommy said to tell you she's not here,
That would be
so,
you. You're
it has
that
a way
girl.
it has a way of backfiring on us. But the thing of remembering, again, as we bring it back to that topic, what's most important lately with things that are happening now, we will never, things will be similar. History, it said, um, history repeats itself, and it does, but never in the same way. Things are never going to be exactly the same the way they were, prior to this pandemic. Yes, there have been pandemics before, but I'm very certain that the things that we're recording in our memory banks as we're, remembering these things, and some people who are recording them, journaling, years to come, years ahead, when people read this, they will say, oh, yeah, they did go through, but we didn't experience, we're not experiencing that in that way. So for me, remembering what another thing that I am wanting to remember is, how it made me feel, how I'm feeling, my feelings during these times. So journaling is important. Um, to me, journaling and jotting down things, and more so now, as I approach, um, as I continue to age, it's important for me to jot things down. I may have 1,001 post-its and note papers and
I
stuff
wasn't
like
saying
that in
anything.
my war room, having all kinds of things that I want to, people that I want to pray for, and this is one thing with my prayer room is being able to remember, because once upon a time people say, well, you pray for me, and they find out that you're a church person. Every church person does not pray, or, is not into that. But one thing this side of my life that I am getting more tuned into is remembering those persons who are requesting prayer from me. Because keep it in mind, we're in an interrelated society, and that's the way God created us, to interrelate with each other, you know. So that's another thing that I am hopeful of remembering is requests that people make, and things I can do to make a difference in others' lives.
I agree. Missy said, add her name to your prayer room, please. It's already
Al-
there, boo.
Always,
It's in mine.
already done, already there.
It's in
Yes.
mine. It's in
So
mine. Like I literally like I make, you know how people say, yeah, you be like, pray for me. It's already done. You know how people say that,
already
and
done,
then you wonder
already
if they
done.
really do pray for
Oh
you.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I used to be that person and be like, I'm gonna pray for you, and then going about
And
my day.
then,
And
oh my gosh, yeah,
and then
um,
I sat and thought one day, why do people do that with me? When I be like, pray for me, child, and they be like, all right, and then as soon as they said that, they forgot, and I'm nowhere in their prayer call. When
yeah,
they go into
and
prayer,
that's
they
something
not
that,
even praying at all. So
right.
like more recently, or this side of my life, I'm still in her saying this side of my life, I make a conscientious effort to actually stop what I'm doing. Like I'll get people. They may text me, even before I started this show and this segment. There would be people who text me randomly when when I would be in my office at work, and they'd be like, "Just pray for me, sis," and I'd be like, "Cool." At 12 o'clock today, I want you to start praying because I'm gonna stop what I'm doing, and I literally will set an alarm and be in my office on my knees in my office chair praying, and like because it's important for us to one, do what we say we're going to do, and be real, be genuine, and because I want, like, the prayers have literally gotten me through, the prayers
Absolutely.
of my ancestors, but because there is a path that I am continuing on, it's going to have to be some more prayers from the current people that are in my life that keep sending up those prayers and that timber for me
Keep
to
those
get me
prayers
through
coming, folks. Keep
situations.
them
So
coming. Keep them coming.
I need them to really pray when I say pray. So I
You
have
know,
to be that example and make sure that I'm actually praying when people
absolutely.
say, pray for me.
Again, as we're nearing the close of our broadcast today, something I want to remember, and that was an excellent segue, because if ever there was a time that we as a people, as a country, needed prayer, it is now. Even people who in the past have not prayed, I encourage you to have moments of meditation where you focus on what you've been brought through already, in the past. And the fact that uh, uh, we're still here, and we've been brought through many dangerous toils and snares.
Oh, we
We can
almost got us
say,
singing, y'all. A couple more segments.
we can say, there is a God. There is a God. So if ever there was a time for us to come together in prayer, I challenge you this day to do so, to just sit down, and all prayer is your conversation with your creator, you know. And my key thing is remembering what he's done for me already, things that I've been through. My husband and I once were coming back from one of our many anniversary trips. He was driving in an ice storm, or the after effects of the ice storm, and we veered off the road and to 100-foot ravine. And I lived to tell about it. We lived to go to church that same day. We were headed back so that he could preach, at our church. And so I'm a witness what prayer can do. And in fact, when the police came and people were looking down at the vehicle, I'm sitting in the car just praying, just praying, just praying, just praying. So I know what prayer can do. So in times like these, I believe if we all as a people would just pray, just
Yeah.
pray. And we say there's a thing too to put legs on your prayer. When you pray, then you have to do your part
Yeah.
to make that prayer come to fruition. And so that's one of the things that, as La said, I've said, I want to remember, and that is to pray. It's never, and the good thing about it, even when allegedly prayer was taken out of the schools, for me and my house, it was never out, because there was one thing I incorporated with my kids was that you can pray. You don't have to have, be sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. You can just sit there in meditation and solemn meditation and whisper your prayers, because God knows our thoughts, right? He knows our thoughts. He knows our mind. So pray, folk, pray, because as we're coming out of this pandemic, it is going to be so necessary for us to be on one accord as a people. Even as we're transcending into the different stages of getting back to business, it's not going to be like it was. Face it, it's not going to be like it was. New normal, it's not going to be like the old normal. So just face up to it. But we have to adjust. We have to realize that life goes on until the good Lord says differently. So pray. I encourage us to
And
do just
and no, Missy, everybody, you don't want anybody praying for you. I saw your comment. We're not even gonna wait till the next segment. I'm gonna answer it now. No, you
that's
don't want
the only
everybody
show.
praying for you. Um, so I
That's
don't ask just anybody to pray for me either. Um, and and
exactly.
and so in your constant communication with your creator, you know what I'm saying? We talked about that. When you're in constant communication with him, he will lead you and guide you to where you need to be.
Absolutely.
And he
Absolutely.
will allow people to enter
Yeah.
your life that are meant for certain things. And so in order to know and to be able to rightly divide truth, you have to stay in communication with him consistently and allow him to guide your footsteps, and those people will come, that will be therapeutic in actually praying for you. Those of us who have children, grandchildren, we have our prayer closets, but I believe sometimes it's necessary for them to see you pray.
Exactly.
I have one quick story and then I'm done. Um, my 1 year old, almost 2 year old, every time we eat, whether when we're eating dinner together, and now that that everybody's home, we eat lunch together. She's already like this, like reaching her hands out, like give me your hand. It's time to pray. You know what I'm saying? When she see the food on the table, she's like, "Where's your hand? It is time to pray." Or if we're on, like, a lot of times after this, because sometimes I miss my pastor's prayer call, and so sometimes if I'm playing it and she's around me and he's goes into his prayer, and she'll bow her head and be like this, things that are worth remembering. Those things that are worth
Absolutely.
creating memory. Like, I
Absolutely.
believe that they need to see us
See
pray,
us.
because there's
Yes.
going to be
Be
a
the
time where
example.
we're no longer here. And
Absolutely.
if we've done everything in private, you know, what
Absolutely.
do they have to follow? So there are certain things that I want them to see me get on my knees and pray. I want them to see me in spirit thanking God and praising God. I want them to see that, because those are things that are going to be instrumental in getting them through their storms. When I'm not here to pray them through their storms, yes, I'm sending up prayers, but there may be a time in their life where they got to re up on prayer, and they got to be able to do it for themselves, or they have to pray for other people. God is urging them to pray for other people, and they won't be able to do that if I don't do my part and teach them how to pray and teach them what it looks like to lay prostrate and just talk to God. What it looks like to be in the car, like they used to ask me, "Mommy, why do you ride with, like, you're an artist? Why do you get in the truck and ride in silence?" And I said, sometimes, when I be on my way to work, I would just turn the radio off, and I would talk to God like he was sitting right next to me in the passenger seat.
Yes.
And I need them to be able to see what that looks like, because it's
Mhm.
going to be necessary, in their walk, in their journey in this life, to get
Mhm.
them through. There can be some storms that they reach. Their prayer is the push that's going to get you through that storm, and not just your strength, your prayer, being able to talk to your creator and say, "Hey, God, I am spent. I don't know what to do. Like, I need your help. Send me a sign, send me somebody, let somebody come through my path right now that is instrumental in giving me that push that I need to keep going." You gotta be able to
Absolutely.
share with them what that looks like, and that's creating lasting memory. So
Yeah.
we talked about what you have, hey sis, what you have done lately, that's worth remembering. If you can't remember anything that you've done lately, after we get off this segment, start being very strategic in what you do on a daily basis,
Mm.
and being careful that it is worth remembering,
Amen.
from your children, from your grandchildren, from people you see every day, from your friends, from strangers that pass by you. Make every moment that you interact with somebody worth remembering.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
Absolutely. And just know that Mama Lou, prior to our coming on the air in the mornings and even afterwards, and Lon knows that I usually have my worship prayer time like during this time every morning. So when we started this broadcast, it was a thing where, okay, I've got to fit this in. And now that Latif has my prayer worship area for his office, makeshift office, I still, I rush in after the broadcast and I'm doing my praise and worship, and sometimes even before. So just know ye this, that Mama Lou is in prayer for each one of you. And as I touch and agree with the names, the comments that you guys are making, I so appreciate those comments. We so appreciate them.
Yeah, we
And
literally go back through after the show the
so,
ones that I didn't answer out loud, and even if
absolutely,
I did answer them out loud, we go back through and read
yes,
every last comment because I don't want to ever miss an opportunity to minister.
not at all. We don't take it lightly, and we so appreciate. I so appreciate, and just know you this, that we have each of you in prayer, and we don't take it lightly that you have supported us. You are supporting us, and it's not even about us. It's about what we can do for others. That is so important to remember. God
Yes,
bless you.
and that's the hook right there. It's been real and awesome. You guys have actually lifted my spirits a little bit. Those who were on from the beginning know I was a little down when I
Yeah,
first got on here, but I pushed through and I could feel the positive vibes coming my way. So thank you for that. And so now I can go on about my day and be great and be in purpose and not just on purpose. So
absolutely.
I love you.
And
I
you
know
know
my
I
mama
love
love
you.
you. Wear her little crooked heart. And most importantly, the creator God loves you too. Remember that. Be awesome, all my essential workers. You know we praying for y'all. Those who are not essential and you don't have to be out the house, stay your butt in the house so that our essential workers can be cool and straight and safe. All right. Love you guys as always. We will see you tomorrow to close out the last
Friday.
day of the week. Tomorrow's Friday.
Wow,
It's Friday.
Friday.
So we will see
Yeah.
you bright and early, 7:30. Look for the topic on my page, 10 o'clock, 10:30 ish. Don't forget those pictures of those graduates. Send them to our email, morningtwmommy@gmail.com, so we can get that slideshow together for our second week in June. All right, holla at your girls. See y'all later.